Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for February 28th through March 6th. This week I read 2 books, I watched 6 shows, I watched 3 movies, and I listened to 2 books. First I read Sexuality, a graphic guide, and this is exactly what it sounds like. It's a graphic novel that heavily discusses sex and sexuality. This book is absolutely packed with information and it references so many different sexologists and philosophers and doctors and celebrities and anybody who has a say about sex and sexuality and many different subcategories of those things. So it's such a great resource to go in and just get an idea of the history of sexology and all of these different categories of thought, and then you have all of these different people that if you're specifically interested in what they were talking about, you have all of these reference points so you can go out and seek their work and read it in full. This book was intersectional, it didn't yuck anyone's yum, it came with so much back knowledge, and it's a great primer if you're just wondering about anything to do on the topic. It's probably in here somewhere, and then it can point you in the direction of other works should you need them. The other book I read this week was The Life and Medieval Times of Kit Sweetly. This is a book about a girl who works at the castle, which is like a Renaissance fair type of restaurant, but it's the whole deal where people watch people jousting and they eat turkey legs and all of that type of stuff. She's been working there for years as a wench and she's wanted to work her way up to being a knight. Because she's a girl, they won't even let her train as a squire and then a knight, even though she has all of the right moves. Her older brother is one of the knights, so she's basically trained with him her entire time that she's been there. She could totally do the job, but they won't let her. One night he's not feeling great and she's like, hey, I could do the second half of the show for you if you want. And he's like, why don't you do the whole thing? So he dresses her in all of his gear, puts his helmet on her, lets her do the whole show, and at the end she obviously reveals that she is a woman and obviously she can do this. This starts a whole petition and training movement with her group of friends to make it so that not only cis dudes can be knights, and it was a lot of fun. I like that this was intersectional. Not only did we have an assortment of races reflected in the cast, we also had at least a couple of trans folks, and it was great to see that this wasn't just a book that was like girls can do the same as boys. It's like everyone can do the same if they train hard enough. And overall I had a really fun time with this. Besides her having to work against the people at the castle, she's also having some family issues. I love to see how close she is to her mother and brother, and her dad is kind of estranged. She's also got a crush on her best friend who she shouldn't have a crush on because they decided that them dating would be a bad idea because they might lose the friendship, so there's that tension throughout the book as well. This week we finished the 3rd and final season of Dark, which, wow. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, it's a German time travel show, and it just kept upping the ante every season, which you would expect it to do. But it got to the point where I was constantly like, who is this character? What world are they from? What time are they from? What is their objective? What is going on? I said to Chad that I would be willing to rewatch it if he wants to watch it in German as long as I have subtitles, but only if he doesn't talk through it, and I don't think that's going to happen, so I probably won't revisit this, although it is very tempting to kind of write out some family trees and those types of things to see how actions affected different people in different times and that type of thing. That does seem like a project that would be fun. I don't think I have time for that. We also finished the 2nd season of The Boys, which also upped its ante, especially in Nazis. There were Nazis in the 2nd season. I guess they were technically in the 1st season as well, but yeah, this is a show that is hard but also entertaining to watch because I'm watching it and I spend so much of my time just flipping off the screen when people are being homophobic or racist or biphobic or just terrible human beings, because there are a lot of terrible human beings in this show. That, however, means it's doing a really good job of making me feel feelings, so it has that going for it, even if those feelings are very much full of rage and just wanting to punch characters that could totally kick my ass. I thought I was going to lazily make my way through Nadia Bakes, but I just finished all of the episodes. It's another wholesome cooking show. I like her, I like what she was making. I like that there were themes, but also just completely random things. I like that she threw in some vegan bakes in there every once in a while. Things that I could actually make and feel okay about it. Although if we're being perfectly honest, desserts is where I fall down on being a vegan. That's fine, I'm doing what I can. This week, of course, I stayed current on RuPaul's Drag Race UK and RuPaul's Drag Race. Let me just talk about UK first. Obviously, what Ellie was doing, totally within the realm of the game. If anyone else had that advantage, they would have done the same thing, and it obviously worked. So anyone who's like really mad about it, aka Lawrence, chill, because that's how the game is played. so early in the morning that I remember who went home on RuPaul's Drag Race, but I can't remember what the main challenge was. Oh, Snatch Game! Snatch Game! Of course it was Snatch Game! Okay, goodness. Thank you, brain. My biggest takeaway from Snatch Game was some people were very, very good at it. I think that Utica just got in her head with that character and thinking that people weren't gonna get it, and that was unfortunate for her. It's also unfortunate for my friend Eddie-licious, who definitely does a Bob Ross burlesque drag thing, which I will link down below because it's amazing. So I was literally thinking while watching the episode, wow, if Eddie ever goes on Canada's Drag Race, they're going to have to pick a different character that they do because Bob Ross has been taken apparently, even though Eddie does it better. We also of course finished WandaVision, and I'm wondering, is this the end of this show? Because the way it ends, I'm like, how can we continue? Is this just a one-off show? I knew nothing about this show when I started watching it besides my roommates were watching it, and I sat down and went, this is interesting, and this show did a lot of really interesting things, but is it a one-off? Are we getting a different type of show? I don't know. I should probably look it up, but I'm pretty sure my roommates will just keep me informed. Also, I just wanted to mention this here. It's not technically a TV show, it's not technically a movie, but something we did watch and heavily enjoy this week was the SpaceX launch. They were launching another one of their rockets. They've been doing this thing where they send it up and then it's supposed to kind of flip on its side and then they're supposed to be able to land it back on the ass end of it. And it hasn't been successful up until this week, where they actually stuck the landing, but about 5 minutes later it exploded, which was heavily entertaining. Obviously I wouldn't have this amount of glee if anybody was hurt. There's nobody on it, anything like that. It's fine. But as it was coming down, we're like, why is it kind of on fire? I hope that goes away. And then obviously there were consequences down the line. Just let me tell you, we laughed for so long and so hard at this. It was a great time. On to the movies I watched, the first one being Moxie, because this came out as a movie on the 3rd and I watched it that day. Overall, I thought this was enjoyable. There were a couple of things that I was just like, but why? Such as the opening to the movie. Kind of lost me as to why that needed to be the opening sequence that we had. That's fine. I also thought that the queer moment needed to be expanded upon because it kind of comes out of nowhere and then just kind of disappears as a thing. As I was watching the movie is when the scenes from the book were coming back to me, and I haven't read it recently so I can't say it's a one-to-one, but I felt like they did a really good job of taking this book and turning it into a movie. This week we also watched Hit and Run, which was a weird mixture of great because these characters are sitting down and talking about their feelings and being really mature and adult and speaking through their problems, which was wonderful, and then a very cringy scene where it goes on for like 10 minutes about the character talking to somebody he knows has been sexually assaulted about the race of who did that. And oh, that scene was enough that it completely wiped everything out for me, and I don't really want to recommend watching this movie. So I'm not even going to go into what it's about because I just can't. This week, for the first time ever in the 25 years it's been a thing, I watched the movie Matilda. I know, I should have seen this as a kid and somehow I missed watching it, and that's a travesty because it's a wonderful film. If you've never heard of it before, Matilda is a book by Roald Dahl that they turned into a film 25 years ago about this little girl who grows up pretty neglected by her family, basically teaches herself to read, reads all the books in the library, and when she eventually goes to school, there are some troubling characters there, especially the principal is not the nicest person. Matilda, however, comes to realize that she has some powers, and that was a really fun aspect of this. It was also weird for my roommates to go back and watch this as adults, because obviously the things that the adults are doing to children in this film are just despicable. I remember listening to the book last year and walking through a park and being like, this is terrible. What is happening? How are they letting these adults do these things to children? And now that I'm thinking about it, I was definitely walking in an area that I haven't walked in probably about a year, so it must have been before everything happened and lockdown, so okay. In any case, this is a classic for a reason. It's bibliophilic. I really enjoyed it. On to the books I listened to this week, the first one being And Now She's Gone. This one starts out with a woman fleeing from a man who she fears is going to kill her. From that prologue, we switch perspectives, and now we're at the perspective of this woman who is a detective who is going to try to find this woman that went missing. She's been hired to find this girlfriend who left her boyfriend, but she also left with his dog, so mostly he wants the dog back. But she's getting some weird feelings from him, so she wants to really make sure that this person just left because because they no longer want to be in the relationship, and not left because they were being abused and then, you know, hand over the information of where she is to this guy, because that would be bad times. We also come to realize that she got into this line of work because of things to do with her past, so we get to see her past and whether or not it's going to affect the present, as well as this very twisty-turny case that she's working. This was fun. It had a twist like 5 minutes before the book ended, which I really appreciated, and if you're looking for a mystery thriller, this is one to pick up. The other book I listened to this week was a reread, and I specifically watched Matilda for the first time this week because I knew that I was going to be rereading this book this week, which is The Faceless Old Woman Who Secretly Lives in Your Home. You're like, what is the connection between this wholesome children's movie and this creepy old woman who lives in people's houses and moves their shit around in Night Vale? And they are one and the same. By that I mean Mara Wilson played both Matilda, and she plays the faceless old woman who secretly lives in your home. This is a character that would periodically pop up on the podcast and was voiced by Mara Wilson, so I knew that when they were writing an origin story for this character, that she would be reading the book as well. I got this book as an ARC through the library last year, so I didn't listen to the book the first time through. I read through it and really enjoyed it. And then because I was doing my best and worst of 2020 video, I was reminded of this book and I went, I wonder if the library finally has the audiobook, because I would love to revisit it with her voice in my ears, and that's what I did. This is an origin story of this incredibly mysterious character who starts her life somewhere just off the Mediterranean on an estate with her father, and I'm really not going to go into what the plot is, besides it's heavily to do with adventure and revenge and evil, and it's just a lot of fun. So much is in her backstory, and I just so thoroughly enjoyed seeing how that comes together with one of the present day people in Night Vale that she's inhabiting the home of. Also, the Night Vale novels are standalone, so technically you could read this one without reading anything to do of the other books, or even the podcast if you wanted to. If your podcasts aren't your thing and you don't really want to know about this character, that's totally fine. You can go into this without knowing anything about the world and still be heavily entertained. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you're on a keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that is down below, as well as the link to my PayPal in case you prefer that platform, as well as the link to my Amazon wishlist in case you would like to buy me a book. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye! Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my... wow, okay. It's gonna be one of those days.